The weekend of the Spanish Grand Prix on the surface seemed pretty uneventful, but those in the know saw something really important come out of it. A group that we thought was no longer relevant came out of nowhere and proved to us that they still are. That's right, the Pit Stop Boys released their new song, Vamos Fernando! Welcome to Race Weekend Update, my name is Stacey Hewen, and these are the top stories of the Spanish Grand Prix. Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso had his roughest race yet this season, finishing in 7th and, crucially, finishing behind his teammate for the first time this season. A lot of pundits were speculating that he suffered in race pace because he picked up floor damage during that run over the gravel in qualifying, but I think they're failing to understand that Alonso really seems like he's learned to play the political game this season, and letting Lance take a W will silence the naysayers who have been quite publicly calling for him to be removed from his seat. Nando knows which side his bread is buttered on. Lance Stroll had his best result this season, bringing him up to 35 points of Aston Martin's 134 total points. I can see now why Alonso loves him so much as a teammate, because if Nando gets into a title fight, he has nothing to worry about when it comes to competition coming from within the team. My cat shows up demanding my attention, so I picked him up, and it turns out he's actually just a big fan of Lance Stroll, and he was there to kick me in the balls for making fun of him. Mercedes saw a resurgence this weekend, finishing 2nd and 3rd. The key ingredient to the success of the Mercedes seems to be how nice they are on their tires, taking their first stint nearly 10 laps longer than expected. Despite the success, there were some obvious signs that they're not yet in contention for wins, because Lewis was on the radio praising the way the car handles and his tires. Real champions complain. The race may have been kind of boring, but George Russell's radio certainly wasn't. First mistaking his own sweat on the inside of the visor for incoming rain, and then when he passed Sainz, this gem of an interaction happened.
Solid work. Just solid.
It was pretty good.
Max Verstappen won once again, continuing Red Bull's 100% winning streak this season. Max also demonstrated empathy for the first time when he reacted to the win with the same boredom that the viewers felt. Verstappen was on the cusp of getting a 5-second penalty for violating track limits, but that would be kinda like throwing a spike belt in front of a freight train. Sergio Perez had a decent recovery drive, going from 11th to 4th, is what I would have said if he wasn't in a car that was so dominant that, were the positions reversed and Max Verstappen was starting in 11th and Checo was on pole, Verstappen still would have probably won the race. Lando Norris experienced a devastating blow to a promising race start following a collision with Lewis Hamilton. "First time," said Max Verstappen. On the subject of ruined races, Charles Leclerc's race was over before it even started, with there being some sort of a problem in the rear of his car that caused him to go out in Q1 for the first time since 2019. Since Ferrari didn't understand what was wrong with the car, they elected to change everything in the rear and start from the pit lane. They say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and as a result of his career at Ferrari, Charles Leclerc is now benching 400 kilos for his single rep max. On a happier note, Charles Leclerc has a new girlfriend as of last week, because famously, F1 drivers want to be single when they're focused on winning a world championship. As a result of Charles Leclerc being out of the points, it fell to Carlos Sainz to score all of Ferrari's points this weekend, and he had a pretty good weekend, putting himself now 16 points ahead of his teammate in the standings, something that he's apparently only capable of doing when he has a car that isn't a championship contender. Ferrari's strategy team was up to their regular antics this weekend, pitting Carlos on his mediums when he said that he still had plenty of pace left, and then one lap later, pitting Leclerc, who was on hards and you would expect to go further on the stint. At this point, I have to wonder, does Ferrari's head of strategy have gambling debts that he's paying back by fixing F1 races? Frankly, it would be a relief if it was something like that and not just systemic organization-wide incompetence. Yuki Tsunoda was on the radio telling his race engineer to shut up and let him drive. Kimi Räikkönen fans everywhere reported waking up inside for the first time since the Finn retired from F1. Before we go over to the Canadian Positivity Guy for his summary of the race, if you're new here, get subscribed. Each time I get a new subscriber, my pee-pee tingles a little bit.
Well, you've heard the British guys enough, so why don't you listen to somebody else for a change?
Valtteri Bottas had such a 5:11 race that I don't think I heard him mentioned even once during the live race broadcast. Making it even worse, Valtteri's pay driver teammate that everyone said wasn't good enough for F1 is finishing, on average, 1.3 positions better than him in every race that he finishes. This is good news in my opinion, and let me tell you why. With Alfa Romeo set to become Audi in 2026, we can expect the German brand to do what German brands do whenever they enter F1. Announce that they're going to be a German team based in Germany with German drivers, just like Mercedes did back in 2010. And just like they did with attracting Schumi back, we can expect that the best German talent that could possibly be available and Formula One fighting fit by 2026 would be Sebastian Vettel. Of course, Seb, being a big proponent for Mick Schumacher, would almost certainly only agree to come back if they had an all-German lineup consisting of both him and Mick. And you just witnessed in real time how F1 rumors get started because, my God, I want that to happen. As if getting equaled by a pay driver wasn't bad enough, it appears that Bottas is just a seat warmer for a team that's in limbo while it waits to get taken over by a proper manufacturer. But there's got to be something more going on here because, as they say, bad things come in threes. Just like me, because I never pull out when I bang your mom. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Pirelli seems to be on their game this season, with fewer races being single-stop snoozefests. Having this race be a two-stopper made for a lot more excitement and created more opportunities for close racing and changes in the order. So in a bid to make racing even more exciting, Pirelli has announced that they will be working with Tanya Harding for her expertise on how to stop a superior competitor from dominating a competition. Increasingly unpredictable weather this season has been adding for extra layers of excitement, with spots of rain reaching into quali sessions and races and just scrambling everything up. So now, when someone tries to tell you that climate change is completely bad, you can clap back with how it's been good for racing. I mean, sure, it cost us the race at Imola, which is a track that people actually like and a race people actually wanted to see. But what matters is at some point, some sort of external influence has to cause somebody other than Red Bull to win, right? During the post-race press conference, a member of the press addressed a question to Fernando despite the fact that only the drivers who made it onto the podium attend the post-race press conference. I can relate because I too assumed that Alonso would be on the podium. Fernando Alonso said that if he could rewind time and go again in qualifying, things would be different, but that he cannot yet change time. I have to wonder, if he could change time, is yesterday's qualifying what he would really go back and redo? Before we get to the poll, I would like to give Lewis Hamilton the Fiend's Cool Cat of the Week award for wearing sunglasses inside during the post-race press conference.
That's one cool cat.
Now for the poll of the week. This week I asked if you would watch a racing series where real full-sized cars are driven by onboard AI with no external inputs. Of the 1,100 respondents, 22% said yes and 78% said no. There was a lot of good debate about what would make the series good, whether it be a full constructor series focused on integration of both the AI and the machinery, or whether it would just be custom AI driving regular race cars. I think it would be interesting as its own series, but I'm pretty sure it's just a matter of time before someone like Amazon or Google approach Haas to put an AI in F1 as a pay driver, and it would probably still be a better choice than letting Mazepin drive your car. And of course, we can't forget the extra spicy joke that I hide at the end of my videos for everyone who watches to the end. Old Man Brundle referred to Yuki Tsunoda as a Chinaman, despite the fact that he is very clearly Japanese and ignoring the fact that the term is considered offensive even to people who are actually from China. In Brundle's defense, he was rehearsing for his role in Brad Pitt's upcoming Formula One film, where he will be playing Bernie Eccleston.